The John Muir Way, Day 7. Edinburgh to beyond Preston Pans. 60 miles in which we had a number of random encounters. The first of which took place at 2:10 a.m. Yes, correct. When someone thought he would leave his room and walk up to the end of the corridor, which was where our room was. He had his phone on speakerphone so we could hear his wife, girlfriend, significant other, although it was all in a language I couldn't understand and I'm not sure what the gist was. I was getting to the point where I was going to tell him to bog off, politely you understand, and later discovered Ed was about to do the same, when the woman said bye or something like that and he rang off and toddled off. But he didn't go into the next door's room because I heard that door opening at 3 a.m. and someone leaving. With the smell of malt permeating our room throughout the night, must be a brewery, a distillery, maltings around, which doesn't narrow it down much in Scotland. I lasted until gone 6 a.m. and then got up knowing the local cafe opened at 7 a.m. In a flash, although I probably shouldn't use that phrase anymore, of inspiration, we left our bags whilst we headed out to the cafe, so like last night's walk, this was all extra walking. The concept of gluten-free was not one that the cafe was acquainted with, so Ed tucked into a full Scottish, well I didn't, but sufficient to keep me going. Apparently the cafe owner's partner, wife, other half was in Greece for a wedding, which was yesterday, just in case you happened to be attending a wedding in Greece yesterday. We remembered to collect our bags, and I discovered someone's safe place for their Amazon parcel was the rickshaw. So if you have a rickshaw in your garden, it's not a good safe place for deliveries. Sensibly, the 1,000+ toilet rolls that had been delivered were just inside the front door. Having got a helpful weather update, basically it might rain or it might not, but we're not committing ourselves, we strolled through some lovely parts of Edinburgh. Only a slight hill to begin with. The sun came and went, the breeze came and went. Was I too hot? Maybe not yet. We saw the castle in the distance and then strolled through Holyrood Park under Arthur's Seat, as you do. We made our way down the Innocent Railroad, which is now the Innocent Cycle Path, although I was less convinced about this being innocent when a gentleman passed us on a wreck of a bike, trailing a powerful pungent smell of doing the weeding, I think. We followed the path to Musselburgh and over a couple of miles past several mines stating Musselburgh 4. Now I know maths can be a challenge to some of us, but surely at some point it needs to go down to Musselburgh 3 or even 2. I can only surmise a canny Scotsman had got a cheap deal on Musselburgh 4 signs. 10 miles later we got to Musselburgh. As we walked into Musselburgh, Ed pipes up, he was from Carlisle. Who? That man in the car. I often pass him when out walking. We're in Musselburgh? I'll see him next week and ask him what he was doing in Musselburgh. Passing some stone fishermen that made me feel like I was entering Monty Python's Flying Circus and they would start hopping about, we did actually encounter a circus big top. Ed reckons he saw a wolf, but later this became a dog, and probably was just a rug, I reckon. Overheating, and given we were passing more benches than you could shake a stick at, I took advantage to stop and take my jacket off. The moment I had my rucksack off, the wind picked up significantly and I decided I would be too chilly, so promptly put my rucksack back on and we carried on. But at least I used a bench. We were now by the coast and had to go slightly inland to cross a river where there were definitely more than 7 swans a-swimming. We had made good time, and within 2.5 hours we had cracked halfway, just over 8 miles. I started to feel it a bit, and then encountered a helpful sign from Scottish Power showing where the John Muir Way was being temporarily diverted. Really? As we finally got back to the coast, and the ever-moving Preston Pans seemed to be getting further away, I made the decision to speed up to catch up with it. 20 seconds later, we passed a gentleman who asked if we were walking the John Muir Way. Yes, I replied, as this seemed the most helpful answer. Do I detect a Yorkshire accent? The man asked. No, I'm from Dundee and my feet are aching and I want to crack on, is what I did not say. Moved up from the Leeds area to Dundee 7 years ago, and he's from Carlisle, I nod at Ed. Oh yes, I recognise that accent, says the man. I used to have a business in Carlisle just by the railway. Oh, I get my pizza from there, says Ed. Oh, that was my business, says the man. Turns out it was the pizza place next door to the pizza place where Ed gets his pizza. Apparently he moved up here, and I presume he meant Preston Pans because his wife got a job. And then he said, it's not a bad spot, it has its ups and downs. By this time, I was really looking forward to getting to Preston Pans. That's not a phrase you'll hear said often by anyone, but I needed A, a wee, B, an ice cream and a drink, and C, a sit down on a bench. Finally, we limped off because all our muscles said, rest, curled up and had gone to sleep. We went round the corner and up a hill, probably more of a large lump to be honest, but it had been flat the whole time up until then. I googled cafes in Preston Pans. There were two, one of which was Greg's. The other, as it turned out, was simply a takeaway with no seats and no toilets. Hobbling back across the road to the co-op, no gluten-free sandwiches, naturally no toilets, no ready salted crisps. I took an ice cream, tomato sauce flavoured crisp because the packet looked like ready salted crisps, and a bottle of Coke. I've really grasped the concept of a healthy diet. Actually, most drinks now include a range of artificial sweeteners, which can bring on a migraine, so I tend to avoid them, to be honest. It's a wonder I ever made it out of the front door for this walk, but hey. I inquired of the lady who couldn't serve us because her till wasn't working if there happened to be toilets in the vicinity. Behind the tills, a discussion took place, providing a welcome diversion from the till not working discussion, and I was told to go down to the crossing, turn right, and up the hill and past the scaffolding. The lovely lady, taking pity on me, then came out of the shop onto the street and pointed out the said crossing. I moved with renewed urgency and found said toilet, which fortunately for me I wasn't wearing roller skates because apparently you're not allowed in the toilets if you're wearing skates, according to the two official signs. I wondered if this was the same supplier as Musselburgh 4 signs doing 2-for-1 deals. When I came back out, Ed informed me of the drug deal he had just witnessed. A few hundred yards later we encountered a memorial garden which had some interesting sculptures, one of which I thought was a good representation of how my foot felt but still desperately clinging onto my leg. It was good to sit down and look back across to Arthur's Seat and beyond that the Queensferry crossing. Renewed by my sugar rush, we moved on for a while, shadowing an older woman with a pronounced limp. Fortunately, the Coke and ice cream met in my stomach and propelled me past said lady, and we were up and running again. This leg of the journey was meant to end at Preston Pans, but owing to the fact I don't think Preston Pans has fully embraced its tourist potential, there was nowhere to stay, so carried on past Kirkensey, with Ed spotting a very rare Methodist church, not many of those to the pound in Scotland. We passed an older couple who asked, "How'd you walk with that weight on your back?" "Badly," I replied and walked on. Feet screaming, legs buckling, I shuffled up the path to the Airbnb where we were staying. As I located the key lock to get the key, the neighbour appeared. "Are you doing the John Muir Way? Where are you from?" "I'm from Carlisle," says Ed. "Oh, my sister has recently moved to Carlisle." "Don't know why," says the man. I unlocked the door and stumbled through, dropping my rucksack collapsing on the sofa. As I did so, my watch popped up with an encouraging message. "Off to a great start." "Really? Are you really saying that now? What do you mean? Have you ever argued with your watch?" Maybe he was expecting to go to Carlisle.